Good afternoon, everyone. This is Roman, your number one online resource for real estate purchasing. Just a couple of things to cover today. First and foremost, we are looking to purchase a property in Phoenix. Very excited. Looked at the property with our contractor a few days ago. And so today we got on the phone with our capital partner and we're buying it. The house is nice. It needs about it's in a very nice area of Phoenix. It needs about $50,000 in rehab. But one thing I wanted to go over today is that we want to put a buffer in place. What do I mean by a buffer? Well, two things. First of all, I've never seen budgets go down. We've done, between me and my partners, over 100 rehabs, and we've never seen a budget come down. It's always either right at budget if you're lucky, but most of the time you're over budget. And so you always want to make sure that you have a buffer. One of the worst things to do is to go back and have to find capital again. And this is, of course, in terms of a rehab. But let's say that you bought this property and you're renovating it before you move into it. You always want to make sure that you give yourself at least a 10 to 15% buffer for your renovations. Now, 10 to 15% is pretty good. That's for people that typically have experience in handling renovations, know what costs are. If you're a novice or doing this for yourself for the first time, hiring contractors you don't know, that buffer may be a good idea to do 20, even 25% of your total renovation cost to make sure that you don't have issues later on. Keep in mind, every day that you own that property, you're paying interest. Every day that you own that property, it's costing you money. And so you want to make sure that you get in and out as quickly as possible. And when all of a sudden you're running out of money and you're in the middle of a renovation and you have to go back to find more capital, you may have to, first of all, what if you can't even get that capital? You ask around, nobody's got it available, you don't have any, or you need to liquidate something in order to get it done. It's a bad situation. But secondly, is that when you do that, the renovation may come to a grinding halt. If your contractor needs their next draw installment and you can't pay them, that means they can't pay their guys either. And so what they'll end up doing is putting your project on hold and going to another project, renovating that, and then that could lead to increased holds. So let's say that you couldn't get the money for a couple of days, 3 days. They needed the draw by Monday. You couldn't get it to them by Monday. You told them, hey, give me 3 days and I'll get that money to you, the next draw, and for you to pay your people and buy materials. What that contractor is going to do is take another job or go finish another job, and it's going to take you more than 3 days to get them back. So your delays will actually be much more than the 3 days that you needed to get the money, because they're not sitting there doing nothing, waiting for you to come up with the next draw installment. Always make sure that you have a buffer. So on this renovation, our renovation cost is about $50,000. We're asking for $60,000 just in case. We have to get the city involved. There's permitting that's going to need to happen. There's actually a carport that we're going to enclose and attach to the rest of the house. The carport's attached to the house and has shares the same rear wall. So we're just going to enclose that carport. Got to pull permits for that. Another thing we always want to do is make sure that we have enough carrying costs. Let's say you're doing a major renovation, and that renovation will take more than a month. Let's say it'll take 3 months in order to finish that renovation because you're doing something significant. Make sure that you not only have the buffer for the renovations itself, but you're keeping a buffer fund for the cost of the property. Your costs are not simply the mortgage. There's mortgage, there's taxes. If you have an impound in your mortgage for the taxes, well, that will be covered there. You have utility costs, water, power. In some cases, you have solar electricity, and there's going to be solar costs. There are different costs if it's condo or if you're at home in a gated community, you have HOA costs. Make sure that you factor all of that in. Do not forget about those things. Later on, it may be difficult to come up with the capital. Your capital, what'll end up happening is your capital will get drained fast, and then you're going to have those delays with the contractors that we talked about. So today we went into contract with this property, and we were given a timeline, a deadline at 4 o'clock. It's a renovation property. We don't have any contingency period for inspection because we already went in there with our contractor, and our money is required to be in there for deposit today. So we confirmed today, we signed the contract today. They want our money in at 4 p.m. today in order to secure the property. That seems like very aggressive timelines, but when you're looking to get a deal, when you're looking to get a property with built-in equity, people want you to move fast because there's a lot of people behind you that want that property as well. Then we leveraged an existing relationship, and that's how we got this property. We'd taken another property from this agent previously in Phoenix that we're finishing up right now, and that's relationships are important in this business. So we needed to send in a wire today. Now, a very important tip that you need to do when sending in a wire is to verify the wiring instructions. You're going to typically send it into a title company, an attorney, or an escrow, depending on which state you're in. Call the company you're sending the money to. Verify the numbers and the wire instructions on the document that you got. I personally have a close friend that sent $150,000 in a hard deposit on a very large purchase, and it was fraud. It was sent into a different bank account. Good luck trying to unwind that transaction. By the time he figured out what was going on, the money was already out of that account. Couldn't recoup it. He had to go through a lot of legal processes. They actually found the person that committed the fraud, but he ended up getting half of his money back only. That's a very expensive lesson to learn. Call the location, the place where you're wiring it, where you're wiring your deposit, and where you're wiring the closing funds. If the numbers are not the same as where you sent it initially, call. Call and verify after it's hit the account. Make sure that you're verifying that you're sending it to the right place. It'll be virtually impossible for you to get those funds back. The last thing I wanted to talk about today is that we had a property that came back to us. In this business, as in any, relationships are key. 2 months ago, we made an offer on a property in the city of Encino, California here, and it's also a renovation property. We wanted to purchase it, and the offer that we made got beat out. It's happening a lot out there. People are overpaying for property, and then when they actually get into the due diligence period, they're exiting the transaction. Well, 2 months ago, they got into escrow. The agent called me. The agent that we made an offer on called me and asked what our highest and best offer was, and we had to stick to our numbers. We're not going to take a risky position in purchasing a property. And so we made an offer. That offer was beat by supposedly a retail buyer. Well, a retail buyer requires conventional financing typically, and this was a renovation home. We don't know why. The agent today that called us today would not tell us why he lost that buyer or why he did not close with that buyer. All we know is that they came back to us. We left the door open. We explained to him that we understand what you're going through, and we hope this transaction closes for you. We wish you the best. If it does not, we'll be here. We're buyers. This is what we do. We're professionals, and we're going to be here for you. So if I might call you in the meantime to just touch base, see how the transaction is going. Or if it falls out, please give me a call. We'll be very interested in submitting another offer, and let's see what the market conditions are at that time. Maybe we'll increase our offer. Don't know. We'll see. The main thing is just that relationships are key. If it's a house you really want, put in the offer. If you get bid out, keep contact. There's a lot of escrows that are falling out right now. Increased amount of them are falling out. Interest rates have risen. People may have gotten pre-approvals when interest rates were lower, and now all of a sudden they're getting into a purchase. The mortgage broker is not going to tell you, mortgage brokers for the buyer wants this deal to go through as well. He doesn't always know that his underwriters are not going to approve it, and the numbers and ratios may not work, and he doesn't always know that going in. And so an increasing amount of escrows are actually falling out. Make sure that you keep an open door, keep a relationship, keep calling back those properties that you want. You should have hot sheets. I'll explain what that is on a different day. You should have hot sheets, and if it comes back available, those hot sheets should ping you as well. The hot sheets are MLS listings, an email that you should get from them, and when it comes back on the market, you should get that as well. But try to be there before that hot sheet hits, because it's also hitting everyone else who liked that home. And if you liked it, odds are someone else liked it too. And just like I finish every time, I'll always finish these with a quote. Today's quote is by Steve Jobs. Great things in business are never done by one person. They're done by a team of people. If not for my team, I wouldn't be anywhere. 1 + 1 = more than 2 in business. And a team is extremely powerful. Always rely on a team. Great things in business are not done by one person. They're done by a team. I'm Roman Shersher, your #1 online resource for buying properties online. Remember our website, housebuyingblueprint.com. Have any questions, reach out to us, info@housebuyingblueprint.com. Have a great evening.